I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, Mr. President, can I get a motion? Don't move a second for the consent agenda. So, Mr. Supervisor Groby, is that correct? Supervisor Shea, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Next up, we have Mark Shoemaker, Conservation Director, discussion and decision to approve second consideration of ordinance 2021-6, an ordinance to amend chapter 3.20 of the Pot County, Iowa Conservation Board Lands, Rules, and Regulations by adding the use of all-terrain off-road vehicles and golf carts on areas and to adopt said ordinance into law.
So move. Second.
Any discussion?
This was just to basically update the law to match what we did for the rest of the county, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's just modifying our motor vehicle use in the parks, to allow the UTVs, ATVs, and golf carts, on roadways and parking areas.
In the park?
In the park, yeah.
Because I don't think,
Hitchcock trails.
Not on trails, no, on hard surface roads and parking areas.
I don't know that our ordinance allows the golf carts out. I mean, you allow them in the park, but not off the park, basically.
Well, the only place that we may have golf carts is gonna be Hancock and Bottom Bend, because the town is associated, I mean, it's in the city limits,
Well,
the town limits, so,
Town's deal there.
yeah.
Yeah. What did you say, Bottom Bend, and what was the other one?
Well,
Hancock.
Hancock, the town of Hancock, it's
Right.
within the town limits of Hancock.
Right, okay,
And there's golf carts, people have golf carts in town
Sure.
that would like to bring them in,
sure.
so.
Now they're working on a golf course, aren't they, Lynn?
I haven't heard that.
One hole? Okay, no other discussion, roll call?
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman, Roby,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
and Shea.
Aye.
Okay, next up we have Matt Wyatt, Planning Director, and Pam Colstrip, Acting Director, Terry Brown, Iowa Homeland Security, discussion and decision on amending the hazard mitigation grant and the 15% local match. Terry, are you on?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great. Good morning. Okay, Pam.
Good morning.
You want to take it away?
Terry notified our office last week that there may be additional funding from the hazard mitigation grant program to potentially buy out the remaining stacked properties from the 2019 flood event. So if we apply for those funds, it'll be like the last time, local match, 15%. Potentially CDBG grant to cover that, but so we were just wanted to discuss it with you and see if you wanted to proceed with applying for those funds, knowing that the county may have to pay 15%.
And that's the rest of these on?
Yeah, one is not on there, Rockford Farms, because their appraisal was so high that it would throw this all off.
15%, 3.7.
Well, that's, yeah, so, no. Did you have a contact, quite a few this week?
I did. William Rock, the third one on the list,
Yeah,
said he was not interested. Everyone else was interested. There's one property not on this list, and that's Rockford Farms. Their appraisal was
oh, man, that was
way high, so based on the grant criteria, that
What's the
one is
address
probably
on
on the Rockford Farms.
Yeah, do you know?
I don't know. 130th Street,
It's up off of Soda Avenue.
Yeah.
130th, I believe.
What did you do your math on that?
3.7 million.
That was 15%. 555,000.
300 and something, I can't
I
remember.
had 388, 500.
So, reference our, basically 3.3, but reference back to the CBG potential, how, do we have to apply for that through
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Is there,
Hopefully amend the current application that they've submitted.
That would be right.
what,
If this happens, will it take care of will we be done with this flood deal?
Other than the Rockford Farms and the people who chose not to participate.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And they can't apply again, correct?
Not in this round. I mean, if it floods again and this program is available, they could apply then, but not the 2019 flood event.
So I'll jump in real quick on that too, just to kind of let you guys know a little bit more on how we're looking at it. Is the properties that are on the current grant are the ones that we're specifically looking at. The way the rules state is we cannot add additional properties once the grant is submitted for approval, which clearly this one was. It's been approved, so we can't add more properties. The reason we have potentially additional money is because other grants in this disaster are coming in with underruns. And so that money gets funneled back into our program, and then we try to allocate it. The reason we're mostly allocating a good portion of it to this, if we go forward with it, is twofold. One, obviously acquisitions are our number one priority, and number two, you guys are set up the greatest to utilize the money because you still are under the 2019 disaster, which means that they're subject to the valuation of those properties pre-flood fair market value, and you still have the opportunity of potentially asking CDBG for that 15% local match. Because the way CDBG is set up, it can only be used for grants that are under the 2019 flood. So if we were to take and move you guys to a different grant, you no longer would be eligible for the local match under CDBG. So that's why we're kind of pushing for it under this grant. Not saying that CDBG is going to allow you to amend the original ask, but we're hopeful that I think it's a better than above average chance that you guys are going to be able to do that. But what we asked for under the HMGP grant is no different than before. Regardless of whether or not there's a outside source that can pay for that 15%, we're going to need you guys to say yes, we're willing to pay for that 15% in the event that all of a sudden goes away. Because we don't want to get into the grant and then all of a sudden something happens, CDBG goes away or doesn't come through, and then you guys just say, okay, no, never mind, we don't want to go forward with it, type thing. So that's where this question basically lies with you guys.
Terry, Don Gross, have you had any conversation with economic development about the 10% state match on this?
Yeah, so up to this point, we've had multiple discussions about it. In all the other aspects, they've paid for both the state and the local match. It's our understanding that they're going to do the same for this grant as well. So basically, they'll be paying 25%.
That's important, that's $500,000. What do you want from us today, Pam?
To, if you guys want to proceed with the hazard mitigation grant program, that you would be willing to pay the 15%. That way Terry can make a decision as to whether we move forward or the funds are allocated to someone
You're
else.
saying it's a flip of the coin whether we get reimbursed or not at this point. You feel pretty solid on it?
Well, I mean, I think Terry is indicating that he's optimistic about it. He probably has a better knowledge of what the commitments are with economic development than I do. I would think, though, that if the HMGP funds that comes through Terry's office, if there has been a reduction of those, there should be a reduction also in the amount of CDBG that is projected to be spent in, I assume it's primarily Mills County and Fremont County.
So yes and no when it comes to that, is because the way CDBG is working is there's a specific allocation for the LMI communities, so Mills, Pacific Junction, Fremont, Hamburg, that area. You guys, Pot County is living under the special appropriation outside of that, and through the political will and everything else, CDBG came through with paying for the 15% of the original grant or the original grant amount. So because they did that, I would believe that they would be willing to step up and pay for the additional money made available. The only thing that we don't know, and that's outside of our purview, is what they have allocated outside of these areas. So that's where that's where we have to find out from Economic Development Authority what they've already allocated to other communities for that additional money.
I'm in favor of us doing this for tearing down those homes and being done with this. I just wonder where we get our funds to back this.
How much CBG money did we receive already for the first go-round?
The grants in the works, I mean, it's not finalized, right?
300 and some?
327, I believe, wasn't it? For the first 8 homes.
Those were all about 250,000.
Mm-hmm. I think the resolution that you signed the first time was 327.
It was 495.
With the 10%.
That's our 15% match.
So,
Deducting from that?
Well, I took the 400,000
Yeah, the
off from.
local share on the original
Oh,
is 329.
329.
On the original,
that we received already.
We've applied.
We have applied?
Yeah. We have not received an award yet,
Okay.
well, typically they would give you an award letter and then follow up with a contract. So
Where are we at with that?
we should know any day.
Okay.
can we put this off a week?
Well, I don't
I
know.
don't think it's gonna be like that.
Yeah.
They're gonna let us know when they let us know. I mean, personally, I think we need to find a way to just get this done, move on. I mean, these folks have been waiting for a long time.
But, we're gonna add this on to that, try to
Yeah.
add that
What-
onto this.
What MAPPA has applied for is only for those first 8 homes,
Right.
nothing to do with these.
Right.
But yes, we would want to amend, if possible, the current grant.
Do we have to go through MAPPA on this, Terry?
So for CDBG funds, yes. Iowa Economic Development Authority has mandated that the COGS be involved in any of the application of these, of their funds for this, yeah.
Do the other processes, the other demolition, as asbestos, all that stuff get rebid?
I would assume yes, but I will be asking Terry whether or not we can utilize the existing procurement process that we use for the first 8 to add these. You can weigh in on that, Terry, as far as demolition
Yeah.
and all that.
So because we're adding a significant amount of properties and the deviation of these properties, I would be very hesitant on just amending a contract to add these properties to it without going at least back to the original bidders to get a feel of what they would, what their bid amounts would be for these additional properties. The problem is, especially with your properties and any county properties, they're all so unique with the amount of with the age of the properties, the amount of outbuildings, that the style of the homes, the size of the homes. We're not talking about cookie cutters sitting in town, so it would be a little bit difficult to just randomly add those to a existing.
Especially on demolition and asbestos abatement, maybe.
Yep, especially on that, considering the age of most of these properties. And I don't think that's going to be a elongated process. And quite frankly, I think EDA would if you're going to be adding these to their request, would specify that as well.
I guess our
And
question.
I will tell you when we're talking about them not approving the original ask yet, it's simply because of hoops that need to be jumped through, which from my understanding, all of them didn't jump through. They're just waiting for their approval. I have in my office had absolutely no indication that money is not going to be available for you guys. Now it's just a question of will they allocate additional above and beyond that.
We're standing there.
Well, I just think we need to go back and, it's a lot of money, but I think we need to get it done. I think we may need to just go back and look at our budget and just make sure we earmark the money there, and then if we get CBG money, great, then we can, breathe a little easier, but if not, we need to, I mean, at this point, it's best to get these folks out of these properties and move on.
I agree with you, I just worry about the money.
We're probably on these next year's budget.
Yeah, no, I agree.
When would they implement this? Would it be tore down in the spring?
Oh, these?
Yeah.
Well, the first 8 haven't even been finalized yet, so.
Oh, okay.
I think this just gets them on the official queue that this is
Yes.
happening when it goes down, but I think you're asking if basically we can make sure we can back the 15% is what you're asking.
Correct.
That's what we
I think the short answer is yes, we can back it. It's gonna be we need to go back and find that or earmark that money.
pull
I mean,
$500,000
it's there, just,
out of the hat.
So Terry, what do you want? You want a motion to amend the hazard mitigation grant and the 15% local match based on the list of properties we have in front of us today?
Yeah, that's initially or in a sense, what we were looking for, simply because with this money, if we got to this point and then you guys decided that you didn't want to move forward with it, then we could move that money to other communities that are kind of sitting in line waiting for it. So that's, with you guys wanting it, that's great. We'll use it. I just didn't want to get too far down the road and then short another community if they can use that money in that case. So, and again, the amount that we're looking at up to 3.4, we're still waiting on some of our underruns to come in. So it may even be shorter than that, but it's not going to be that much shorter from what our indications are currently.
I'll make a motion to approve
I'll second.
the amendment of the hazard mitigation grant and the local 15% match.
Based on those properties that are.
Yeah, based off this list, yeah, minus rock.
Minus rock.
And then you have
Rockford
one
is
that you're
not
still
on there.
figuring out, right? The Rockwell or whatever it was.
Rockford.
Rockford.
We're not gonna touch that one.
Okay.
Terry, will you do everything you can to, help us out on that 15% match?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're all always in communication with EDA or IEDA regarding that, and that's kind of how the first go around went. I'm not saying that we had a huge role in it, but we had a role in it. I think obviously politics had some good push when it comes to that. So I think they know the need and the want there.
So is it an all or nothing deal, or is there anything in between on this CBG money that if they come up with, say, 10% more of it, or is it 15 or all or none?
No, I don't think it's all or none. I think they have what they have, and you know, I would imagine they're willing to utilize, or they're going to want to utilize what they have available to them.
So what we have existing right now is the 329, and we don't have confirmation of that yet, correct? But we're gonna add.
Not hard and fast, but from all the discussions and all the indications, it's just a matter of semantics on getting that money approved.
Okay, and then this is gonna be, what made the motion and seconded on this today is gonna add, we're gonna add it to that amount, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
Just keep us informed.
Been dealing with this since 2011, and it's, you know, it'd be good if we can get some of this done, so. It said it wasn't gonna plug in, but it did in 19, so who knows when this one is. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Can you, on your spreadsheet, Pam, can you, add the land size or quantity to these? What's going to be taken? And these appraisal amounts were all, guesstimates by Homeland Security?
No, the company, I can't remember their name, who was it?
I don't know the name of the company, but we paid.
We paid for all of these.
Oh, you did?
And they're,
Yes.
yeah, those are actual numbers.
You're not gonna have to refresh them?
No,
No, because it dates back.
Yeah,
They're
pre-flood.
2019
These
years.
values are all based on appraisals,
Thanks,
Thank you.
and they're all based on pre-flood fair market value.
Okay.
So we don't want to have them reappraised.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Terry.
thanks, Terry.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
We just wanted you in the front row.
No, it just line of fire, right? And I haven't shot yet this year, so I don't know how good I am.
Next up, we have, well, Sheriff Andy Brown is not here today, but hopefully he's getting better. Chief Deputy Jeff Thulin, Finance and Budget Director Mitch Ty. Discussion and or decision to approve Board Resolution 107-2021 entitled Resolution Authorizing the Board of Supervisors and Pot County Sheriff to execute an agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. to provide radio equipment and services for Pot County. Okay.
So this has been my life since January. I'd like to say it was gonna be over today, but now the operational part will start. But just quickly before I start on this, and we'll run through this as quick as you guys wanna run through it. I just wanted to publicly thank Dave Gentleman and Jason Studi, who made me smart about all this stuff. This is really something we probably should have been working on a few years ago, but no harm, no foul. We're gonna get it done. We're gonna take care of it. Also, Kim Reeby over at the city, who did a lot of the contractual stuff with DAS making sure we could do all of this legally with Matt and Dick. And then also, I just want to shout out to Bob Stephanie in the back of the room. Bob works for D&D Communications, which does a lot of Motorola's work. We have had a long-standing relationship with him for years and years on this radio system. He is the one that got all the numbers, put together all the spreadsheets, whatever. We couldn't have done it without him. And so it was just nice to have somebody that we could kind of push all this stuff to. So with that, we'll go through this real quick. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. You want to go to slide 2? Our project goals were to bring Pot County radio system, public safety radio system, into TDMA. The techno geeks will lose their minds when I do this explanation, but TDMA is merely a technology that narrows the broadcast frequencies. It kind of halves the broadcast frequencies. It was developed by the cell phone people back in the day to put more capacity on their towers. So it just microbursts conversations between each other and just using one frequency. It saves a lot of space on the system. And the Orion system that we are a part of, the Omaha Metro radio system, is starting to reach capacity. So TDMA is going to become important to us. We wanted to also replace radio hardware. There were a lot of radios out there that were handed out in 2009 that are end of life that Motorola is not supporting. So obviously that was going to be a huge issue. We saw more of it on the volunteer fire side. And when Sherry Smits, and I apologize, Sherry Smits from Motorola is in the back of the room also. When she and I got together originally in March, you know, I was like, okay, we're going to buy 8 radios one month and 12 the next month. Well, as you guys know, ARPA came through, and we just think this is a huge opportunity to use ARPA money to do this, and the city of Council Bluffs agrees with that, and they obviously are going to hear the same pitch on Monday at their study session.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
I did stop you.
Yep.
So all this hardware and equipment that we're gonna get rid of is gonna go where?
A lot of it to the junk pile, because it can't be supported. One of the things we are doing with the radios, and what I'll do is defer your question, because it's going to come up in the slide.
Okay.
Next one. Orion, if you don't know, is the partnership that we had. I was actually working for the Omaha Police when we first brought Orion on. Back in the day, in the helicopter, it was important to us to talk to everybody. But right now, it's Douglas Dodge, Washington, Sarpy, OPPD. Saunders County is considering coming on so it's becoming a real player in this part of the world as far as the radio system. And they have been very good to us. We joined Orion in the 2009-2010 time period. But now some of these radios that we joined with that system on are not supportable. Next one. On the other side of this equation, the state of Iowa developed their own radio system called ISIX. It is a interoperable communication system across the state of Iowa. It is a very good system. We originally thought, should we join the Iowa system or stay on Orion? We found that there are too many force multipliers with Orion to leave it. But ISIX is already a TDMA system. So when we leave Pottawatomie County, our radios are now non-compliant with the ISIX system. We can't get on their system. And that becomes really important for my deputies, for Walnut Fire, Avoca Fire, people that go out of county on a lot of things, Crescent to Missouri Valley. So we have lost some radio capability. We can't talk to the State Patrol without patches. So ISIX is already TDMA. They're up and running. All the counties surrounding us are on the ISIX system. Shelby joining just as we speak. ISIX does allow us to join their system as what we call a level 2 user. In other words, we have consolettes down in the 911 center where we can get on the ISIX system. And ISIX, for no charge, will allow us to use their state interoperable tactical channels with TDMA capable radios. So starting when this system comes on board in March or April, whenever the radios ship, one of my deputies that pursues somebody into Harrison County can instantly be put on a state tactical channel, talk to the State Patrol, talk to the Harrison County Sheriff, whoever else is on, fire, whoever. So this is really going to help us in that regard. Same thing with Walnut going to Murtu Hospital or Montgomery County Hospital. They will be on the state system, and they can bring those people together. Lewis Township gets a lot of fires south of the county line where they're talking to Mills County folks. So this will be a huge deal for us. So we really get the best of both worlds by staying on Orion and joining ISIX as a level 2. So right choice, we think. It's a service to our citizens, obviously. It's truly an interoperable system. It is huge safety to our first responders. And I'll just speak quickly, and Tim and I had this discussion on Friday a little bit. The police cop types on our system are going to get these new Motorola Next radios. They will track a person within about 36 inches of where they're at all the time. Des Moines had a harrowing experience last summer where a cop got into a fight, got lost behind a building. They couldn't find him. They looked at their big board. They saw where he was at and got him help. So we think for the police officers it's going to be, and the county sheriffs, it's going to be a huge deal. It also allows them an LTE or a cell phone capability on their public safety radio. So they walk into Mercy Hospital, they walk into a building that's non-compliant. The radio switches over automatically and goes through the cell phone towers to get to our public safety radio system. And the user it's invisible to them. They don't even know it's happened. But it will give us a lot more communication ability. As you guys know, I was the emergency manager in the 11 flood. Interoperability with Omaha is critical. We found that out in all kinds of joint ventures, including last year when the civil unrest thing happened and there were rumors that people were coming to Council Bluffs, whatever. I can tell you that we talk to Omaha Police or Omaha Fire on a daily basis, whether it be us in the Sheriff's Department, but mainly Council Bluffs Fire, Council Bluffs Police. They are constantly going back and forth across the river on stuff, river rescue plans, things like that.
So does this allow us to talk to the National Guard this time?
Yes, we can still bring the National Guard, and we'll talk about that here in a second, on cash system. So we kind of talked about TDMA. I don't really want to explain it because I'm not qualified to explain it, but it's a narrowing of the frequencies and using it. It's recommended by APCO, which is the 911 trade group. We are the last people in in Orion to convert. Sarpy is converted, Douglas is converted over, Washington's converted, Dodge. Orion has not said we're going to switch yet. ISIX already has, the state of Iowa. But Orion has said, no, we're not there yet, but we think it's coming within the next 1 to 3 years. And when that happens, every radio that we have that's not TDMA is going to go dead. And so this is something that we really got to get in front of, or otherwise we're going to lose our radio system.
Jeff, I got a question.
You bet.
What's your length of time for these radios to last in the system?
I give Sherry a real bad time, and I know she's making a face at me right now, that Motorola has a business plan. Every 10 years, the radios go obsolete. The 2500s we have are probably a 20-year-old radio or a 15-year-old radio. And they still work great, but they don't have this capability. The 7000s and the other more recent radios we've bought, some of them can be flashed over to TDMA, so we've recovered a little bit of that. But I don't know. To answer your question, I'm looking at about a 10-year business model with radios. Yeah, so it's expensive about every 10 years.
Yes.
I'd like to make it better than that. Again, Orion could call us at any day and say, you guys got to be TDMA. The only real complications I've heard about the system getting too clogged up so far, and Bob, you can jump in on this, when they have College World Series, our jail radios hit off towers over on the Omaha side, just because the radio doesn't care what state you're in, it's just going to find the best tower. And so they jam up pretty hard because of the College World Series, and Omaha has kind of complained a little bit about during that time frame. Is that fairly accurate? Yeah. But otherwise, so far they haven't come to a conclusion yet on when they're going to do the switch. Go ahead, Mitch. There's another technology here that is going to be a little bit more sensitive, I guess, and that's encryption. We have found especially on the law enforcement side, that people are listening to these scanner apps and taking action based on what they're hearing. In other words, there was a state patrol chase about a month or two ago up I-29. Every time the state patrol got on the radio and said, we're putting stop sticks down, the car turned in the media and went the other way. So they were obviously listening to the public safety radios through these apps that you can all get on your cell phones and do whatever. Omaha has done a study of it. They have found, I believe, 150 or 160 different instances where they believe that scanner apps affected the outcome of a police call, law enforcement call. So there is a push in Omaha to encrypt the radios. In other words, super secret back and forth between each other, and people wouldn't be able to listen. There is pushback, obviously, from some of the public and some of the news media on this. I think Omaha, and the last time I talked to them a couple of weeks ago, their philosophy is they're probably going to do a delayed broadcast of all their public safety radio system over a website, but there'll probably be a 10-minute or 15-minute delay. Tim and I talked Friday, 10 minutes probably not enough for us in the county. But we have to have these encryption chips in all the radios to do this. If Omaha encrypts in March or April, we would lose interoperability with them without encryption. So this new radio system, all of the new radios will be encrypted. And it will be up to all of us to decide when we flip the switch. I've kind of given Omaha the indication that we would kind of like to flip when they flip and just kind of go over as a metro system. And so we're still waiting to hear back. But this encryption thing is becoming a pretty big issue in a lot of the metro areas around the country. People are listening to these scanner apps and they're taking action based on it. Go ahead. So the bottom line, we need to replace it. We need to upgrade. There's no question about that. We also need to enhance the service countywide, which we think we have. This prevents, with the ARPA money, just gives us a golden opportunity that we wouldn't have any other way without a huge bond. And I don't remember the exact amount of the bond in 2009, but it was substantial when they bought the system because they had to build all the towers, everything. Go ahead. So our money amounts are a little bit fungible. Mitch and I had kind of been going back and forth, but he just ended up putting a cap on the county side of it. This includes a 5% contingency fee that we'll talk about a little bit. But basically, the E911 board, the surcharge folks that get the wireless and non-wired line phone money from the state, have been saving up for this for a long time. They knew it was coming, whatever. They're willing to commit their capital budget, 1.7, for the system upgrade downstairs, on the towers, the software. We're going to the city of Council Bluffs on Monday, and actually it's going to be Carmody and James that are going to present it over there. They're going to pay about $2.175 million for their part of the system by the police, fire, animal control, public works, parks and rec guys. Our cost is a little bit higher, obviously. As I said at the beginning, we found out there were almost 30 users on this system, but we're buying radios for us, the jail, secondary roads, conservation, all the volunteer fire departments. We gave them 20 new radios. We capped it at that with the idea that their old radios still work, but they could start putting the new radios in trucks or apparatus or people that are going to be interoperable with other counties, especially, again, Walnut, Avoca, Minden, Crescent. So our costs were pretty high. We have the best contract with Motorola, and by we I mean the state of Iowa, DAS, of anybody in the country. And we will lose this contract in about 2 years. In some cases, we're getting radios for about half the price. The Apex Next, the new COP radios are very expensive. Motorola held the price from the July 1 price of last year for us in this contract. Go ahead, Mitch. So we have to take advantage of this. Motorola wants a contract by November 19th, which is very doable. The rollout would be sometime in March or April when we start seeing it. I know we don't use contingency amounts much in the county, but we did put a 5% contingency in this.
No.
I am finding dogs and cats out there that I had no idea had our radios. And so I just wanted to be careful with that. The other thing is we're doing some very novel things in this project. Secondary roads, for instance. They're gonna take their base radios out of their equipment and only rely on portables. Because the portables now technologically are almost as good as the mobile radios in there. So in the past, a secondary roads guy might have a mobile in his grader and a portable that he had on his hip. We're going down to one radio. Now, the only people we didn't do that to are the cops. We kept the base radios, the mobile radios, and the cops because we thought it was a public safety factor for them to have two radios in. But I know James on the fire side in Council Bluffs is pulling some radios out of trucks. The volunteer fire guys are pulling some radios out of trucks. So I wanted that contingency money just in case something doesn't work and we have to go back. This may be the most intergovernmental project we're doing, and I'll let you guys be the judge of that, but we're kind of touching everybody in the county. So we recommend the approval, and I would be open to any questions that you have, or I can bring Sherry and Bob in too for any technical stuff.
Say they'll last 10 years.
That's,
Okay.
Brian, that's
I mean,
a
like,
guess.
they said that before.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I have a
15.
trainer fire radio that I was issued in 2009 that is still working very well every day. So they could go a lot longer than that.
So I kind of want to back up to can you go back to the encryption slide real quick? So I have a little bit of concern about the fact that we're pushing encrypted radios down to, volunteer firemen. And they don't have near the background checks that say your law enforcement do. And then, so I guess where I'm going with this is what kind of accountability do we have on that?
Right.
And
So-
are these like, you have to upload encryption, like on sync cars, you have to upload the encryption
Right.
that you're using. Is it the same kind of concept here?
It's kind of the same concept. The radios will all have the encryption chip in them.
Mhm.
Originally, Omaha was not going to encrypt fire, but they realized that on any major incident, shooting, cutting, whatever, fire goes to it anyway. So the way we're going to control this, and we've had a lot of discussions about it, is the fleet map that the radios have when they're given. So a volunteer fire person who doesn't have an NCIC check, cannot get into NCGIS or Iowa CGIS to see that kind of material, we're going to restrict the fleet map on that radio so they would not have that frequency ability to get to that radio. But that's a good question because we've had a lot of discussion about it.
And then what kind of, you mentioned that you're finding these things all over the place, folks you didn't realize had them before. What kind of inventories are you planning to conduct with these? I mean, are we gonna require it or something, or?
That was a problem, I think, the last time, and it was actually a pretty good problem for them to have because they had so many radios, they could kind of just go out and start spreading them across the county. Every radio now is gonna come down to Jason and Dave downstairs. They're gonna push them into the Salamander system. It's an emergency management surplus system they have over there. And we're gonna issue them out that way. We actually had a conversation on Friday about, for like county fire, we're probably gonna give them a document that says, these are your radios. See ya, goodbye. I mean, we'll still support them. Jason and Dave will still work on everything, but we're gonna have an actual physical handoff to these guys and say, these are your radios. So that the next bunch, just to give you anecdotally, 2 weeks ago, I was notified that 4th Judicial District has our radios. Kip Shanks and the guy is probation and parole. I had no idea. And we gave them those radios in 2009. So I mean, that's the kind of people that are kind of working out of the woodwork, so to speak, on this thing.
So, 4th Judicial or state employees, they don't get issued radios?
They're using ours.
Oh.
And we had that conversation with them about, I think it was last Wednesday. Let me,
Supplied by us.
supplied by us, they were given by us. And I told them we're not doing it on this one, so. One other thing I should say, and I forgot to mention on here, is this, say
Do
again?
you know how many they have?
I think 8.
Okay,
Yeah, it's not huge, but
yeah,
you would think if they were in,
but they need to know to
going out of county.
change
they would-
over.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no, we had that conversation. The schools, I should mention this quickly, because that's important. So we handed out radios to all the schools last time. Mainly it was done in 11 during the flood, because our contingency to evacuate the west end was to bring every school bus in the county and load people up and move them up to high ground, whatever. The schools have really used these radios a lot, depending on the district. We called all the schools in on July, I think it was 19th, at a meeting at Trainer Fire Station, and told them the same speech that you guys got this morning. And said, if you want in on this, you guys got ARPA money, let us know. To my knowledge, Trainer is the only system that has bought new radios or are buying new radios. They're quoted new radios. I told all the school systems, your old radios are gonna work, but there may be a day of reckoning and you better be ready for it. And they were all aware of that, so we can supply, and this goes back to your original question of where all these old radios go. We're gonna supply the school systems out of these old radios for as long as we can go. But we have told the schools multiple times, and I wanna say it publicly again, the minute Orion says TDMA, those radios get shut off, so.
How many are we gonna keep kind of, I don't wanna call it surplus, but like how many are we gonna keep back in
And
storage or
somebody,
something?
Brian asked that question. We have 48 in the cache. We saved, cause in 11, and Joni Ernst was my National Guard liaison during that flood, we gave every National Guard member a radio when they're on the levees. Those 48 will sit, there was a little bit of debate about whether they should sit in emergency management or where. We're putting them down in the 911 center, and the reason is we can save 10 more radios by putting them downstairs, because the 911 guys have to grab a radio if their system fails. And so by having the cache down there, we save those radios. So there'll be 48 radios that we can cash out to in a disaster, whatever.
Okay, then back kind of along the same lines of this questioning, I mean, I realize Fourth Judicial is a state entity, but I don't wanna cut that interoperability out because they are an important part of
They
law
are very
enforcement here. Very important.
So their radios will work until, just like the schools, until Orion says no. And we're talking to them about what they want to do. I was frankly a little bit shocked they didn't have new radios because they go outside of Pottawatomie County. And if they want to be on Essex, they have to be TDMA. So we're having those discussions. We will take care of everybody. We'll make sure that everybody gets taken care of.
3 questions for you, Jeff.
Okay?
The number of radios we're buying is like a little over 1,000.
Yes, we went from, I think we're 1,004?
1045.
1045, I'm sorry.
That's city income.
That's everybody, yeah. We were at 1793, something like that, so we've reduced. Now, I'm being a little disingenuous because we took the schools out, that was quite a few. But we have reduced radios in this county under this project by at least 20 to 25%.
Does this 1,045 include Council Bluffs?
Includes everybody.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right.
You mentioned, if you touch on just a second, prisoner transfer.
Yes. We're buying a couple of these law enforcement style Next radios for our prisoner transport teams. When they leave the county with prisoners in the back of their van or back of whatever, we will be able to know where they're at within 3 foot, every place they go. Plus, they will be interoperable. They can switch over. If they're in Jones County on the way to wherever, they can switch over and contact anybody in the state.
Okay. On the agreement, has that been reviewed and approved by?
So I'll let Matt jump in. We had a quite lengthy
Yeah,
phone.
last week we had about an hour conference call, or Zoom call, I guess I should say, with city legal, the Motorola team, sheriff's team, all of us going together. I mean, frankly, I piggybacked off a lot of what Dick Wade's concerns were. He went pretty much line by line. I had a couple of concerns. Motorola was very responsive. Everything that we wanted really to get addressed got addressed. I think the only, what was the one question we were waiting on? Was it insurance? I'm trying to remember.
What's 5 million?
I know it sounds like.
Sure, yeah, okay, I think we had one issue that we had to get resolved, which my understanding was, so. It's a long contract. I mean, it was like 31 pages of the actual just master agreement. It was like 136 pages overall, but I looked at it.
in that, all we have in our motion is going to authorize the Board of Supervisors and the Potawatomi County Sheriff to execute that agreement. The agreement we have is still redlined, so when will we see the actual?
Today. Sherry and I were just talking about it before the meeting, so I think I have the latest and greatest on my computer. I will send that to you guys as soon as I get back to the office, and we can sign it up.
All right, then I'll make a motion to approve resolution 107-2021, authorizing the Board of Supervisors of Potawatomi County Sheriff to execute an agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. to provide radio equipment and services for Potawatomi County.
I'll second.
And in that resolution has the amount of $3,250,000, is that what it was?
Not exceed, and each bill will have to be invoiced directly to us, so that the whole lump sum doesn't go out, so we'll see as we get it,
So yeah, we won't
hopefully it
make the
comes out.
payments, everything will go to Mitch.
So, we have a, motion by Supervisor Whitman and a second by Supervisor Shea. The National Guard, when they came in 11, they had some sort of radios.
They had their organic military radios, Singars and whatever they were using,
So,
but they used our radios to communicate.
right,
So they're still using some other, whatever.
Those radios were all brought back into the cache as soon as the event was over.
No, but the National Guard is still under a different radio
Oh,
system.
yeah, yes.
Our encryption's.
I would not doubt that your, what do they call the civil affairs, or the civil authority guy in the Guard, they probably have some ISIX capability, I would assume.
We've changed hands on that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but we still have to issue, if we call them in
Right.
again, whether it's a tornado or something, we're gonna have to supply them.
They'll run,
They
like,
can't even talk to the state troopers with
no,
their radios,
no.
or the state DOT. So are we able to talk to state DOT along?
We'll talk to anybody. Yeah, because everybody goes on these regional TAC channels. So we're in Region 4 according to the state. We go to Region 4, TAC 4, everybody jumps on it.
except for
You should
the.
probably help me with this, but the bands that they military operate are on like a higher level
Yeah.
than what.
And their encryption is much more difficult on like Singars and stuff like that because it's combat grade.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to hear that you're gonna delay that too. I think that's important. How long you guys need to make that call? 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you're gonna do?
Yes, yeah, we would like to have a universal time between all of us. That's gonna be a little bit debatable. For an Omaha cop, although I can tell you when I worked out in West Omaha, it would take us sometimes 40 minutes to get to a call because of traffic. But for us in the county, if I have a call in Walnut on a burglary and they're listening to a scanner app, 10 minutes probably doesn't give us enough time to get the deputies there. So I just wanna, we'll have those conversations, we'll try to lengthen that.
Yeah, is that like a freedom of information thing or something? I mean, why does it have to be?
I don't think it is. I think chapter 22, and I guess I deferred to Matt on this, I don't think the public safety communications has to be available, but the news media is pushing back hard. I will tell you, in 2005, when we bought the system in Omaha, we handed out radios to all the news media. We gave them free radios. That's how important and political that conversation was.
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides of that, you know,
Yeah.
why is advantageous for them to have it, but on the flip side, you know, when you're in a situation, you don't want people
Right.
getting involved.
Yeah, it's interesting how the scanner app thing has exploded.
From our perception, I guess that's law enforcement deal, so you take that and you manage that.
Yeah, I'll let the boss run with that one.
Roll
Okay.
call?
Chairman Bell.
Aye.
Supervisor Whitman.
Aye.
Roby.
Aye.
Stoll. And Shea.
Okay, next up. Thanks,
Jeff, thanks for your work on that.
Yep, thank you.
Really, that worked
Well,
out
again,
nice.
there are people that work real hard on it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Marilyn Heaving, County Recorder, discussion and or decision to approve resolution 108-2021 entitled Resolution Adopting Deputies.
Motion to deny. I'm just kidding. I withdraw that motion, sorry.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Shea, second by Supervisor Mr. Schultz. Discussion?
Fitting right in there?
I'm trying.
You're trying.
I just, thank you for doing this and taking the reins right away. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
obviously you've been doing this job in Mark's steed for a long time, but, we appreciate everything you're doing over there and,
Thank
I think this is,
You
while
got
we're gonna
good
be
help.
sad to see him go, it's gonna be a very difficult transition for us, but, we think it's the right move too, so we appreciate
Be
it.
a good asset for us.
Yep, keep up the
He
good
has been
work.
here, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any,
Question, when, I realize this takes effect now, but when is the actual transition gonna happen?
I'm gonna leave that up to you guys.
Like next year, year
No,
and a half.
not that long.
I think honestly, I talked to Andrew about this yesterday. I think we should at least get through just some of the month-end stuff that he typically does.
Okay.
So that way it's a fresh start for whoever and it buys us a little bit of time to get someone else in that role, or at least cover for it in the meantime, but
Shannon, we posted that, correct?
2
It was
weeks.
posted today, since it's official right now, after
Do
you
you think
vote, it'll be posted
Do like a
today.
2-week notice from today then, or?
I mean, I think we still need to be able to
Being so
have you as
anxious.
a resource, but I think,
Down the hallway.
That's true, you can come and get it if you need it.
Because it would be great when we have a new hire start, if Andrew could come back over and train that person, rather than Heather or myself training them, because we don't know what Andrew knows, so.
Yeah.
Probably getting them through the first month will be a big deal.
Sure, sure.
You don't have any issues
I don't
with that, do you,
think, I don't
Marilyn?
have any problem with that, no.
Cool.
When would payroll make the switch? Today or whenever he?
Now
I'd say
that,
no, do it today. I mean, it'd be effective
when
today.
does
when
payroll?
Well, let's see. Today's the 19th.
We held the status change form until we could come up with a solid date.
Yeah.
December 1st.
You'll submit that.
It'd go on the agenda just like any other
Okay.
status change form.
Awesome. Because we're gonna take a week or two to
So-
get candidates. Would November 1st work?
Well, I guess,
yeah,
here's my question in the meantime, because obviously you have downtime. Are you gonna be over there starting to learn stuff now? Because if you are, then I think we need to make it effective immediately. If not, then we hold off to the date where you are doing that.
I mean, if he has downtime, I think it'd be good for him to come over and start learning.
And
Need to work with HR and make sure
Be
that,
able to fill in
Yeah,
a little
it's-
bit?
Yes.
It's coming out of, the funds would be out of their budget, so I mean, it's obviously covered. It would save on our budget.
See, it's all about the budgeting, Marilyn.
Rob, Marilyn,
Marilyn, and
That's exactly right.
Heather out
Follow me here.
of HR, I'm with you.
they're all our budgets.
Oh, I know.
Okay, roll call?
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman,
Sure.
Ruby, Schultz,
Aye.
and Shay.
Aye.
Did we choose a date, an effective date? So we just started a pay period on Saturday, right? A new pay period on Saturday. So we either do Saturday or 2 weeks into Saturday. That way it's a start of a pay
November
period.
1st would be the
I
date.
think you do. I respectfully disagree that we start now because he's going to be doing this function in the meantime. And like I said, it takes Andrew out of our budget, puts it back into the recorder's office where it should be.
So effective today.
I think so, that's me. I mean, the rest of the board can argue and change
Speak
that.
up, you guys.
I don't have any issues with whatever you guys want.
I just think we should make it effective immediately.
Call one or
Yeah. Say
If
good job.
if he's sworn in today, you know, he's a sworn officer.
Who swears him in, you?
No, Marilyn will.
Okay,
You're gonna come up there and do it right now, right? Absolutely. Come on, did we vote?
yep.
Get up there, Andrew.
Is it okay, everyone good for today? I mean, I guess
I'm
that's-
good.
Sworn him in.
Yeah, you got a good picture here too.
Is it
Can you just
I think that's what Lynn's for.
No, you were in the last one.
Now, does Lynn
Trying to
have to
blur it
get
out.
sworn
I'm
in?
up for election.
Scott, Lynn has to too,
Lynn has to
correct?
get sworn in too.
Oh, she does?
I'm asking,
No, well, she was sworn in January.
She's
She's already been a deputy, but with the recorder, I think they're wondering.
Recorder, does she?
You don't have to change it unless you want to change it.
Oh, I don't know. I just, she's okay then.
She
Okay.
was sworn in January, right?
All right.
Lynn, were you sworn in
Pardon?
January?
Yes.
Oh, you're okay.
She was. Yep. Okay, I, Andrew Moats,
I, Andrew Moats,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of the office of First Deputy Recorder
of the office of First Deputy Recorder
in Potawatomi County,
in Potawatomi County,
State of Iowa,
State of Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Congratulations.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Remember where you can.
Good job, Marilyn.
Right?
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good one.
Oh,
You
I
got some
know.
good work.
Yeah.
Will do.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you. Thank you.
Andrew, since you're a deputy, you can wear your cyclone apparel every day of the week.
Good.
Good job, Andrew.
Thank you.
Motion
Thank you.
made to
Thank you.
disallow following application from the assessor's office.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Wickman, second by Supervisor Shea. Any discussion?
Do we have any feedback on this disallowed?
One recommended disallowed.
There were a number of them, and she listed those for us, so.
Is it on that thing?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I just-
So Becky, again, I'd like to thank you for putting the reason for disallowance with those, so thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Becky.
And disallowed. Were,
It's usually they're dead or they don't live there anymore.
mailing address changed. Sharon has remained, does not qualify. Veteran must be on title, not on title. Those are the ones. Next up, we have two.
You have to vote on that, I think. Or did
Oh,
you?
we did? I thought we did.
If you did, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
we
those,
did.
I'm sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion
It
passes.
was too fast for
We
me.
voted on that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Second that?
we're going into
Pursuant
closed
to
session.
Iowa Code 21.5, parent 1, parent C.
Discussion and decision on pending or anticipated litigation.
Who'd have the second on that?
I don't know.
Justin.
Sure.
Okay. Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Shea.
Aye.
Wickman.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
And Groby.
Aye.
Okay.